Would you challenge your limits when you have most of the things you want in your life? Welcome to Innovate Me, a podcast with inspiring life stories from the first generation people. Those who are the first ones in their intimate circle to do or not to do something. Hoa, a first generation immigrant and doctoral degree owner. In the last episode, she shared her path to become an optometrist, eye doctor, and how she then decided to expand her teams and horizon to step into the real estate industry and help others to realize finance freedom. It's not switching careers, but realizing all, capital all, you want in your life. We talk about support and impact, and how this type of dream come true is not limited to a certain group of people. What I didn't expect, and you are going to hear about that, was Hoa sharing that she is a very shy person. She finally said yes to public speaking in just about 1.5 years ago. And I was very curious about the first yes. We know we need to push ourselves out there, confront our fear, hold a bigger reason, but how? How can we say yes to those fears when all the experience we had in the past was something we don't want to experience again?
Momentum in your mind and also in your heart. What are the different momentums here and here?
So my starts here. Here's the logical. Here's the heart. Right? And so I'll give you an example of the growth journey of why I say momentum. So in my journey becoming a doctor and these are accolades, right? But more so than that, it's who I became. But I could have stopped just doing I have my practices, I hire doctors, I have my real estate business, I have passive income. So I've achieved my dream of this financial and time freedom. So if I wanted to stay comfortable, I could sit at home and twiddle my thumb and travel the world and vacation and be fine financially. I have the time freedom, I have the financial freedom. But for me, because I wanted to serve as many people and have a footprint before I leave, that big legacy of creating more, where it's not just me and my family. And when I talk about the heart, it's the only reason I started speaking. I have the biggest fear of public speaking. I didn't share my story until about 1.5 years ago because I'm by nature very private. 1.5 years ago, I had a mentor who said, you need to be speaking on stage. And I'm like, never. And my husband, same thing. He goes, no, you need to tell your story and you need to be on stage. If you want to really do what you say you want to do and impacting more lives, you need to be on stage. I thought they were crazy. For me, I'm like, are you kidding me? I hate public speaking. I'm so
Consider about
scared.
me, how can you say that? So different.
But it was in my heart that when I stepped on the stage and I got that feedback and I knew that one to many was the way to create a bigger ripple effect instead of just one-on-one, which is I had been doing most of my life. And there's only so much exposure you can have one-to-one. And so having a media, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, and so I became an author of 3 books. I started speaking on stages. I started just putting myself out there just so that it can inspire and uplift other people who are in the same position. We're I'm just like that too, Bob. Your story resonates just like that. And once I understood that, it started here. It felt really good. And then my mind just logically was like, okay, what are the next steps I need to do? And so I learned the ropes of public speaking and how that worked in the world of being an author of how that works. So that's the mind part of how to. Right? How do I get into the rooms? Who do I need to know? What are the steps? That's all the how to, but it had to be here where I really enjoy doing that in order to even do the mind part of the how to and what are the details. And, you have to have both because if you're oh, I love to do it, that's what I want to do, but you don't know how to logistically do it, you can't do that either, right? So it requires both, but it has to start from the heart, because if I'm doing it and I'm not enjoying the journey and feeling like I'm helping anybody, then it defeats the purpose. But that is the whole next step of the growth journey.
But how did you, because you said at the very beginning you thought those ideas are crazy, and then after you did that, and then you realize, oh, it really can be something that I want to see. But there,
I'll tell you why. You like, how can that even happen? My first time I stepped foot on a stage, my mentor at the time, he's a business coach. He was like, your story is too big to play small. He used to always tell us that. And so he goes, I'm going to put you on a panel, on an interview. I'm going to interview you and your husband. We were in front of 350 people. I was shaking. I was so scared. But he interviewed us probably for 45 minutes live on stage in Vegas in this huge, huge ballroom. But after I stepped off of that stage, I had 5 women come up to me. One of them crying. She was a young Vietnamese woman. And she was just like, we don't see enough role models like that up there on stage. I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. I started crying. And that was I was like, oh my gosh. I think that, that young woman, like, was the like, oh my God, I can't believe she's like crying. and it was just like really emotional, because she was like, I'm just so shy and quiet. I could never imagine doing something like that, stepping on a stage to speak. And that was just me. I was like, oh my gosh, that one direct response from her really gave me inspiration to continue. And then a lot of other people would come. And then I was like, wow, who'd have thought? Like, who'd have thought anybody would care?
Wow.
But it does, to have more voices, have your voice be heard, and stand up for matters that, you support, that people don't have a voice to hear. And if you have the platform to utilize that, it's a privilege, but also a responsibility if you're in a better place to be able to help other people, that wouldn't have the resources or to be able to do that. So I now understand that.
Really, it is very important. Who do you circle yourself with, right? You had that mentor and you had that trust and relationship. He was like, no, you say no. I don't hear it. Whatever, you get on that panel. And you actually can say no. Like, absolutely. You can be like, right. No, firmly no. But out of trust, out of curiosity, or out of many things, no matter if you say that, but your body, like, step on to the stage, and finally you had a chance to share, to connect, and to hear the feedback, to see the impact.
Yeah. And it is. And it's not always, and that's why I say push beyond comfort zone. I would be lying if I say I still don't get nervous. I get nervous every time before I speak and step foot on a stage. Doesn't matter how many times I've done it now, but I still get super nervous. But it's a good nervous, right? And once I get going, it's fine. But I can't sleep the day before I speak anytime, still to this day. But it's a good thing, but I want to make sure that it's for the right reasons. It's to connect with people, it's to help uplift and encourage others. And it's great to get the feedback, because then it's like, okay, did I actually, because if no one gives you any feedback, you don't know if I'm speaking to people, or am I making a difference?
What am I doing?
So it helps, but it is, like you said, having a mentor, having someone to believe in you is encouraging, so selecting the right people is critical. And my husband was very encouraging, and still to this day, he's always been the one who pushed me to encourage me to speak, to write a book, to get my story out there. And because he would always be telling my story, and so he's like, you have a big story, like you should share it. And he does too, but he's always so supportive of me that, he likes that I take the stage. And now I've enjoyed it, but if you can get past your discomfort in that first 1 or 2 minutes, and just do it regardless of what your mind and every emotion that tells you no. If you could just overcome that and just force yourself to get past that 1 or 2 minutes of discomfort, it's fine.
So enjoying doing the public speaking does not mean that you don't feel nervous. Does not mean that
Absolutely.
you don't get the uncomfortable moment or the voice inside your heart saying, no, 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 let's get down, or, many little voices out there.
I know that like once I'm done on stage and during on stage and the interaction and the feedback I get, I mean, that's what keeps me going, so, and so I enjoy it, but it doesn't mean I'm not nervous. Every time I'm still nervous. And it's the same thing in business. Every time I do a real estate project, I still get nervous. But it doesn't mean that, I don't enjoy the process. It's just, it's true emotions, right? And you have to just, go through the process and get fear, because fear is what holds most people back. And when people were always asking, well, how do you get past the fear? It's not that I get past the fear. I do it in spite of the fear. Fear doesn't just magically leave.
I'm serious saying I'm always here.
Fear's always there. But you have to train. It's like a muscle. You have to train yourself, because only you yourself control those emotions and suppress, and deal with those and those voices and those fears. But if you have a method of like, okay, if I de-risked as much as I could, my due diligence, or if I'm speaking, like, what are the pro side of this? Like, what is the true impact of this? Why am I doing this? And if I can understand and stick to that clarity, then I will push through regardless of my fear. And that's what helps me go. People are like, you keep doing this and this and this and this. Are you not fearful? I'm like, always, always. But I don't let fear paralyze me. I go forward. And if I fail, it's okay. I'll learn something from that failure and I'll keep moving forward. And that's why I fail. When people are like, do you ever fail? Absolutely. If you didn't fail, you haven't tried hard enough. You have to keep going. You have to push beyond comfort zones. And there is going to be some failures in your life. And that's okay. Perfection is false. There's no such thing. It's progress, right? We always hear progress over perfection. But people get paralyzed in trying new things, or people get scared of what people think of you, right? And I think that's the biggest hurdle for people, is the perception of what people think of you. You will learn. It's a growth. That's why it's called a growth journey.
The growth journey, while you don't really let other people hinder you by whatever they're saying. But how do you manage? I mean, well, I know, like, when I fail, I have to tell myself, saying, hey, it's because you get out of your comfort zone. That's a good thing. Or, yeah, I know, but it's still,
It still doesn't feel good at the moment, right? And so you have to, yes, but then you evaluate, well, what happened? Why did it fail? What lesson can I learn from this moving forward? And I think that's the biggest thing. Do you feel crappy, or do I feel crappy every time or any time I fail at something and I let myself down, or other people down? Absolutely. But you can't let your mind keep going over that, right? You have to learn, okay, well, this is what happened. Sometimes it's in your control. Sometimes it has nothing under your control. Like, it's out of your hands, right? But whatever the reason, it's a lesson. It's like, okay, you just got to build muscle and get back up and know that it's normal. I think the more you normalize failure, that it's part of the growth journey, the more that you're okay to move forward. And that was hard for me. The first time I failed, it was it took me a while to get over it, because I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed because I'm such, in my mind, I was such a perfectionist. I'm like, oh, okay, I know I'm always top of my class. I was valedictorian. I hustle, I bustle. I was not exposed to failure. The first time I failed, I hit myself really hard, and I was so shameful. I couldn't tell anybody. And I was just like, oh my God, what is my family going to think? I can't tell my family. I can't let anybody know. And so I dealt with that shame for a while. before I finally let myself go. But because of that failure, then when I started finally getting myself out of that, it was my first failure, like big failure. Once I got out of that, that was the biggest jump for my growth and being stronger. So you do build a lot of strength through adversity when they, you really do. But you have to figure out, and it's trial and error. There's no handbook to really guide you, and especially during those times, it was just like, but I knew that, like, hey, it'll be okay. I just need to get myself and move from the past and, like, what can I do now in the present moving forward? I know I'm hardworking. I know this and that about me to be true. Let's move forward, right? But it's not like, oh, always be positive and, no, I mean, we're humans, we will go through emotions. But the more strategies you learn, and I started reading more and listening to certain podcasts, and hearing positive, the more you feed your brain positive things, your subconscious mind will naturally start gearing that way a little bit more. So I started, like, things that I never did as a young. I listened to a lot of, like, motivational speakers, just on my way to work, just in my day-to-day. So, like, I'll listen to Jim Rohn, I'll listen to Tony Robbins, I'll listen to Ed Milet, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown. And so there's so many resources that are free you could just listen to on YouTube. But just subconsciously, those voices, that's what you program in your mind. And that's what gets me out of dark places. I'll start to read. I'll start to listen to videos, inspirational quotes, inspirational videos. I'll listen to comedy. Laughter is great medicine. I'll listen to the weirdest videos that will just crack me up.
Remind yourself how to laugh.
You're like, oh, that's so silly that I put myself in that hole for, and I was so hard on myself. I was like, so hard on myself. I was like, what are people going to think of me? And if they knew that I failed? And now I tell everybody I failed. And I'm like, I want to tell all the younger people out there that it's okay, that you don't need to beat yourself up. Just learn from it and move forward. And it's okay to feel those emotions, but temporarily. Don't let yourself dwell on those negative emotions for too long.
So it's there, but we are not going to allow this to stay for too long, and we learn from it. But also what I heard is you don't let the failure define you. And I feel it's very difficult because it's very easy to think, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not competent, not that level to do this, and I'm too ambitious, so on and so forth. Like, there could be so many things you tell yourself because you didn't accomplish whatever you want to accomplish at the first hand.
Yeah, and that's a part of the journey, is being and feeling that I am enough regardless of where you are in your journey. And that's the most important lesson, I think, that I learned through my own journey, is knowing I don't need a degree. I don't need X amount of money in my bank account. I don't need to be like the Joneses. I don't need to compare myself to anybody else to look or have or whatever to be enough. And as soon as when I talk about the journey of self-love and self-confidence, to know that you are enough regardless of where you are in that journey, it starts there. And that's why I say it has to be from within. Happiness and self-confidence and self-esteem starts from within. It's a danger zone when you think that you're not enough until you hit this degree, until you have this amount of money, or you look a certain way, or I have to lose a certain amount of pounds, or I have to be a certain way to feel enough and be worthy. No.
You had that moment, like, feeling, no, I'm not enough, or I really want to accomplish this, but I have some self-doubts.
And I've been there. I have been there. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't creep back up, right? But I've trained, it's intentional training that I say, hey, if those negative thoughts start coming in my mind where I feel like I'm not enough, or I start feeling like my confidence is starting to go down, what are the things I need to start doing, right? And so I go back to, okay, so it's intentional. It's like you have to train yourself to get out of that, because it's so easy to get into that zone of like, oh, I feel like I didn't do enough yet, or my expectations were, here, I should have done this by here. That's why it's a lot of internal work, and it's consistent daily internal work. Because you don't just arrive. You never just arrive. I'm a work in progress every single day. I never in my mind fool myself that I've arrived or become somebody like that's anywhere out. No, I'm just my own self trying to become better, a better version of me, right? Each individual just becomes a better version of themselves, but you have to intentionally work on yourself all the time. Just like relationships, you have to intentionally work on that. You can't just be a drifter and hope that things go well. Writing helps me a lot. Whenever I have a thought, sometimes it's just one decision, but it's a powerful moment. I don't care if I'm in the shower and I have an aha moment. I call them, aha. Oh my God, I just thought of something so grand. I will literally jump out of my shower, get a piece of paper and a napkin. I write everything on napkins. And I write it down, I date it, and I write down my thought process, because the more likely when I write my thought on paper and I have clarity and I see it, the more likely I will make it happen. And so that's why I always encourage people keep too much here, but they don't put it out there, write it, and execute on it. And so that's the next level. It's not just from here to here, but from here to actually writing it to executing it and taking some steps towards that. But writing it and leaving it by my bedside helps me see it. It helps me keep it front of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. And so for me, writing, and visualizing it so I can manifest it to actually take the action steps to make it happen, that's how things happen. I don't just dream about it and hope that it happens. I'm very intentional on the steps I need to do each day to make it happen.
Write it, then visualize it, and help yourself to know how to do it, and also have the picture in front of you and manifest that.
Absolutely. And I guarantee you, in 30 days, if you write one area that you really want to improve on, one small topic, and that's all you focused on for the next 30 days, and you research it, you read it, you listen to it, in 30 days, you will have made huge progress in that one little thing. If you intentionally make that your priority. I will guarantee you, like in 30 days, if that's all you focused on, like, okay, this little area, most people are too scatterbrained. They want to do 10 million things. They dabble on a lot of things, but they don't really execute in one lane really well. And so I think if you can focus on one thing where you're like, okay, the next 30 days, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and that's all I'm going to do. And that's, I said, I'm going to be a co-author in a book. No idea how to get started. No idea. I just put it out to the universe. But that's what I committed to the next 30 days. And that's all I did. Research, read, who do I need to connect? What do I need to do? And I started writing it, and then I made it happen. But it was because that's all I was focused on for those 30 days. Speaking, I said, okay, I want to get on this type of stage. For the next 30 days, I'm going to research all the different event hosts that do this kind of topic and this type of audience. This is who I want to talk to. That's what I did for the next 30 days. I reached out, but that's how it happens, right? So you have to be intentional and visualize exactly what do you want, and then just commit yourself those next 30 days. What are my action steps that I'm going to do? But I encourage people, like, try it, like, even if whatever it is, whether it's your health, whether it's in, you want to learn one aspect in the business you want to improve on, whatever it is, just have almost like, okay, I got to do, X, Y, and Z, and really be focused, like laser focused. You'll get the ball rolling. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought. I just didn't know where to get started.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's why people get scared. They're just like, I don't know, it's just too broad. I don't have any idea. But if you start going on blogs, you start connecting on people through Facebook, someone's already doing that. You direct message them, you ask the right questions, you ask them for resources. I mean, there's no lack of resources. I mean, the prophet always says there's no lack of resources, just a lack of resourcefulness. And so you have to get yourself
be resourceful instead of, yielding to have
yes,
all the resources at your hand at this moment.
right. Just get going. Even if you don't know everything about it, it's okay if you don't know. Nobody knows everything about anything that they start. Everybody who's an expert started new somewhere, at one point in their life, they were not an expert.
Yes. I really appreciate that you share so much skills, like how to do it. Like, for example, oh, I know I need to stay in a positive mind. I can't let failures define me. But how? Like what is the thing that is actionable for me that I can do? And I know that a support network matters, but how does that work? But thank you so much for sharing all these and let us to have a picture about, okay, this is the how and this are actually something you can do. It's not, limited or like with a very high bar that you need to have this certain amount of money so that you can enter this. It's not like that.
Right. It is. And, you always have to have checkpoints with yourself. Is what I'm doing in alignment with what I want in life? Like, am I being true to myself? And I think that's the biggest key is as long as you're true to yourself, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, are you proud of yourself, of who you are? I write on my mirror cards there, and I tape them on my mirror, and I have several of them. I have my daughter do hers, I have mine, I have my husband do his. But it's we call it a moonshot. A moonshot is something that by the lifetime before I die, what would I wish to accomplish? And I write that down on a piece of index card. And I put it on the front of my mirror because every morning before I brush my teeth, I look at it. I see it. It's always there. It's always in front sight. And I write little positive affirmations, and they're written around my place.
Yeah.
And you'll see them. But those are reminders of yourself, right? And it's in front. You're like, oh, the bigger picture. It's the bigger picture I need to remember, not the right now, but the bigger picture, right? And so I encourage people to have that and have it visible. People talk about vision boards and different things, but it's the same concept of having that in the forefront of your mind and being able to visually see it. And we have vision boards, but I have that little just reminder. I had my daughter do it, and she goes, "Mommy, can I change it?"
Yeah,
that was a year ago. I'm like, you can change it any day you want. Constantly change it. My moonshot today is not going to be my moonshot probably in a few years.
Yeah. And it's so lovely that, as a family, you do this together. So you can be in the journeys for each other because that's what you want to accomplish.
And you talk about wins, but I think talking about challenges is good with your children. Like my daughter and my husband, we do a family every night, share 2 wins and 2 challenges of your day today. So simple things, so she'll tell us, oh, this happened at school or whatever, the challenge, but then she'll share her wins. And then she's like, well, can I share 1 extra win? Can I share 1 extra, But it encourages children to talk about not just their wins, but what are the challenges and what are some solutions? It's about solutions and being able to openly talk about that as a family. And so, we do, and we started doing that ever since she was probably 4. And she's 8 now. And so that's instead of just like, how was your day? How's your day at school?
I still remember that when my mom or dad asked me, like, how's your day? I don't, it's not like I don't want to share. I don't, what's the thing you want to say?
What do you say?
Yeah.
But I think when you do like two challenges and 2 wins, whether it's school or work or personal, it gives you a checkpoint of like, checking in on my husband, I'm checking in on my daughter, checking in on myself, and it takes less than a few minutes. And then we help each other, like, or we celebrate together, right? Our wins. And then if there's a challenge, we're like, yeah, that kind of sucked today, but this is what we can do or whatever. But it's okay. That I encourage people to talk about challenges, because that's how you grow, and don't suppress those challenges within. Like, a lot of people can help, and that's and it's okay. People are not going to judge you any different just because you have challenges. We're humans. We all have challenges.
Absolutely. And to let her learn that there is a support net for her.
Exactly. And exactly, that she's okay, that she can always come to us to express her emotions, negative or positive, right? And that she doesn't have to put a face on that everything is la and positive and great. We don't want that.
I see. So for people out there, they are in their journey trying to achieve what they want, become who they want to be. Is there anything else you want to say to this group of people?
I would say, I don't use the word try to be something. I am is a very powerful statement. And so when you focus on the things that you're proud of at this current moment, and the more you say, I am going to achieve, and just in those, instead of, well, I will try and things like that. I think words are very powerful, because it makes you what you believe, what you say and what you believe. That's the biggest thing, is your own self-belief. Do you believe what you're saying? And so more so than anybody else, convincing anybody else to believe what you're saying, more so, do you believe truly in your heart and mind? Do you believe that you're capable? And if you are, and you always start with, I am, I am. And the more things that you can say positive about yourself and visualize it, you're rich in your mind, not money rich, but happy rich, wealthy, in your mind and in your heart way before it becomes a reality. But if you can't achieve that within your mind and heart, all the actions and things you'll do, you won't ever get there, because even when you get there, you'll feel like it's still not enough. And so I always tell people, right here, right now, you focus on the things that you're really proud of yourself, and that and you build on that self-confidence, right? And today, and you say, I choose today to be the best version of me. Today, not tomorrow. I don't care about the past, but today. And so I always tell people, be present, focus on today and the future. The past is only just to help, what are the lessons learned from the past? Your past does not define you, right? And so just believe in yourself and say, I today decide, or at this moment, it's a decision. Happiness is a choice. Your actions is all a decision. It just starts with, today, I am X, Y, and Z. I am this already, And so that's what I encourage people, to not put a timeline in 5 years, this and that. In 10 years, I'll become this and that. It's today, this present moment, and everyone has something that I know that they're proud of. Everyone has a unique skill set and something that they're strong at. And I want people to highlight that right here, in their own. So don't compare, don't think a degree or a certain number in the bank account or something like that. But just focus on the strength now, because it's much better to focus on your strength and build on that to move the needle forward than to figure out all the things you're not good at.
Too many.
I was like, focus on what you're good at, and eventually when you have the capability, you hire out the rest, right? But, it's much faster to have progress in your journey when you focus on the strength and what you enjoy doing and what you're good at doing. Because if you can just focus on the few things that you're really good at, and if you're like, well, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm good at this one little thing, but I suck at a whole bunch of other things. Don't focus on the 10 things you suck at. Focus on the 1 or 2 things you're really good at and grow that. Because everyone has that. But I think too many people focus on their weaknesses and trying to be good at everything. Then you become good at nothing. You don't scale fast enough in that one lane. And there's only so much of you. You can't do everything, you know? And so I always tell people, I'm not good at a lot of different things, but I know I'm good at these things. And that's my strength. That's what I focus on. And everything else, you know, then even though when at the beginning of my journey, I had to do it. But as I became, you know, I scaled, I would outsource. I would hire those things I'm not so good at. Or I would partner with someone who loves to do that part and they're better at it than me for that. And then I focus on the things that I'm good at. And that's why teamwork and partnerships and leveraging individuals to create a win-win, that's how it works. That's how you get these relationships, and you got to figure out personalities and skill sets and how can we help each other grow.
So there's no try. It's very famous in the coaching world that there's no try, just to do or not to do. And to know yourself, know your strength and weakness, amplify, focus on your strength, get a team to work together, and everybody support each other in our own way, in our own strengths.
That's right. You summed it up perfectly. There you go.
Thank you, Hoa, again. Love the contagious laugh and generous sharing. I had my 30-day project goal written after the conversation, but I still need to use some treats to keep myself being committed to it. What is your 30-day project? Please share your ideas and get your accountability buddies to keep you on this 30-day journey. If you want, email me your 30-day project goal. I would form a group to keep us accountable together. Email me at innovateme.solution@gmail.com. You can also find the email address in the podcast description. Let's do it together. 30 days, we can do it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving the podcast review, subscribing, and share the stories you love with your friends. You know how much it meant to me. No matter if you're already in your journey becoming who you want to be, or just at the door to step out. Enjoy life, enjoy now. See ya!